quite an event going on tonight. It's a large element of our wireless business, but first again, we have these events every month. I appreciate you joining us, and tonight our event will be talking about M2M. First, before I get too down the path, I want to thank our sponsors. Now, we are a nonprofit, so any contributions we get from sponsors are a tax write-off. Okay, so don't forget that. Okay, these sponsors, as you can see, we've got the top companies that are here in the Southeast as well as around the United States. And for tonight's session, I want to thank our volunteers who have put this together. And for every one of our events, we have volunteers that come forward who have interest and expertise in these particular areas, and they help bring together these discussions. So for tonight, I'm going to introduce Ashok Kumar, who's going to introduce our moderator and take us down the M2M path.
This is a hot topic. As two things that I can, first of all, I want to show a prop here, which is the network world you probably folks might have seen. It's a little old, it's April, it's a pre-interop. It says the Internet of Things, and it says how IT needs to get ready for the new connected world of connected devices. And the other thing is, last week was at an analyst forum of a major tier 1 service provider in the US, and that's one of the key strategic areas is connected machines. So it's a hot topic, and we've got a great panel, but to kick us off, we've got a panel moderator that brings a wealth of experience. Jorge Fuenzalida, who is the Vice President and General Manager of Inco Telecom and Division of Ericsson, will be a moderator for the evening. Jorge brings more than 20 years of telecom experience. Jorge is responsible for overall operations, including sales, project delivery, and practice management of Inco Telecom. And Jorge has led projects in 4G, RFID, NFC, and Jorge has an MBA from Duke University and a BSW from University of Virginia. And I thought it was also interesting. I found that Jorge is a chartered financial analyst. So I guess he looks at not just the technology aspect of it, but also the money aspect of things too. Jorge is also a friend of the Wireless Forum. He has been on panels with our annual analyst event, which takes place in November, sharing with us the top 10 trends that Inco Telecom was to publish every year. So with that, please join me in welcoming Jorge Fuenzalida to lead the panel discussions for tonight.
Great. Well, I'm thrilled to be here again and to talk about such an exciting topic. I've been in this business for quite a while, and my first exposure to mobile data and machine-to-machine was back in 1992 when I started at Bell South in the division called Bell South Mobile Data. And you know, back at that time, we were launching wireless email, and I was showing it to some of my friends, and they said, "It's really interesting. You have wireless email. We don't even have email at work, and I'm not really sure what email is." So we were pretty far ahead of our time back then, looking at vending machines back in '94. And what I've often said is, and I realized at the time that enterprise solutions and machine-to-machine are spaces that just continue to evolve incrementally each year. And I'll talk a bit about why it's more incremental and as some of the pieces take place, as opposed to some of the consumer applications, which can sometimes be a bit more viral. But clearly, we're here at the right time in history to talk about machine-to-machine. I'm going to give a few remarks. I'm going to ask I'll introduce our 4 panelists one by one. They're going to give a few remarks. Then we'll have a moderated discussion up here, and we'll leave plenty of time for you to ask questions. So think of the good questions, think of the hard questions. We've got a very impressive group of folks here that I'll get to here in a second. With regards to M2M, we call it the next great ICT frontier. And I call it ICT, and that's part of the reason why the evolution has been what I call a bit more incremental historically, and that is, while it's a new way to communicate, it involves lots of pieces around the ecosystem. It involves devices, it involves a network, it involves connection back to a system, it might involve a new system, it involves training, it involves process re-engineering. So there's a lot of steps that have been involved in it, but clearly the awareness, the technology is lined up, and you'll see here some of the exciting new applications that are starting to take place. In terms of some of the real human benefits, corporate benefits, a lot of the business cases, well, a lot of the rationale historically has been around business cases, return on investment, can I save money? But now we're talking about speeding up traffic, we're talking about saving lives with regards to M-Health, we're talking about faster responsiveness, and now as we're all using data in our daily lives, you can just start thinking about all the multitude of ways that this can go. So we see three waves of connected devices. The first wave was more around network consumer electronics devices with regards to tablets, with regards to some of the connected home aspects that are coming out, with regards to a variety of sort of consumer-oriented camera and things like that. We're also sort of simultaneously getting into industries, and the industries, historically, we've been more B2B with regards to how businesses can become more efficient. You're seeing a multitude of B2B2C models coming out. The connected car. You may go buy a car, you didn't know you wanted a connected car, but all of them for sale are connected, so now you're a user. A lot of the connected health applications are emerging that way. Some of them may be offered through the insurance companies, others, connected fitness and so forth, maybe more of a personal choice as to how you play that out. And finally, we're talking about the network society, and this is our parent company, Ericsson, puts this vision together with, you can just think about almost every asset imaginable being connected, 50 billion connected devices by the end of the decade. With regards to some of the pieces in place, there are a number of questions as to how you approach the market. Okay, who owns the customer? How does the customer buy? How much will they pay, and to whom do they pay? Sounds easy enough, but when you look at the models that have evolved around wireless, this is not just your straightforward ARPU type discussion as we've had in the past, as demonstrated in the lower left. And when you poll people that have used the Amazon Kindle from AT&T, many of them don't even understand how the wireless piece works, who the carrier is, and that they're implicitly paying for it, but it was a revolutionary model that was brought to the market. You can see, as your creativity evolves, you can see lots and lots of other models emerging, especially around some of these B2B2C. If you're a wireless carrier, it's very attractive because while some of the upfront, while some of the investment upfront from all the parties can be significant, on the downstream there's very low churn, very strong customer loyalty, and very strong benefits. I've alluded to this, the ecosystem consists of thousands of players, and I think what we're going to try to do today on the panel is to help educate those of you around the room as to how it'll shake out. You've got some of the enabling hardware, chipsets, devices. You've got the networks, and the networks now are not just wide area networks, but multi-layer networks. And you think about now small cell technology getting more bandwidth in more places, especially speedy bandwidth. You look at Wi-Fi, you look at Bluetooth, you think of every way to connect these kinds of devices. It ends up looking more like an IT business. So you're getting now the traditional consulting firms and SI firms getting involved because of the way I described the market. It's not just plug it together and it goes. It ends up being very much an IT and process type event. Applications, clearly another piece of it. Aggregators, MVNOs. We've got Wayne from Numerex who will talk about some of the activities in that space as well. What are the services? You've probably seen some of this in the past. Vending machines, ATM machines, emergency call notification, industrial telemetry, smart metering. We've got a panelist from Georgia Power that will come up here later on. You've got a variety of sort of vertical type applications, many of which will touch consumers at play. So it's not business as usual from the inside, and it's certainly not business as usual from the outside. So for those of you looking to apply yourselves as a career into this, it ends up being more holistic. It ends up being a change in process and the way that your customers may do things. From the carrier perspective, it's very different with regards to creating broader capabilities and how to install and deploy customers. And then finally, the support model goes from traditional business hours to sort of always on, always responsive. So as you can see, it's a new paradigm. But with a lot of this awareness in place, a lot of the enabling technologies in place, we absolutely support the notion that it's poised for a very strong decade of growth.